Okay guys, Bitcoin has been in a macro downtrend for a bit of a while now, sort of topped out in October. Triple top here, as you can see, not very pretty. And we are now down into what looks to be a bit of a bear flag. We have a parallel channel that we can draw here. So this is the parallel channel. You can see we've tagged the top of it and we've been trying to break, but the bulls have not been strong enough to do that. We are now sort of breaking below this channel, and you can see price here has been trying to get back into it. This is a really bearish sign, I would say. So you've got to watch out here. If you're a Bitcoin bull, you've got to be careful buying this point. Of course, if we can get back into the channel and even get out of it, then that would be very bullish for the price. But right now, it's not looking good. The sort of expectation here is that we continue to break lower, having left this parallel channel. Not impossible that that Bitcoin will be able to catch a bid. I'm looking at the bulls here maybe being able to put in a bit of a fight around the sort of 83k level. I think that would be your best bet for holding the line here. Otherwise, I reckon we're going to be going back down all the way to levels not seen since, around here back in November of 2024, or even April, the sort of liberation sell-off. This would be probably another good level for the bulls to defend. You can see price pretty respected, broke out from here in the past. So I would be looking to buy in this sort of range, between $73,000-$75,000 if we do eventually come down here. This level's not infallible though, and if we were to break it, then I'm looking at one more potential buying zone, which would be this trend line here. Quite a strong trend line. It's been the backbone for the rally that we've had. So you would hope that in a downturn, you'd be able to bounce from this level. We're looking at potentially around $60,000. You might even wick below this just to push people out of their positions, hunt for stop losses, this kind of thing. So somewhere in this region, 60,000 to maybe 50,000, 55,000 is where you would expect to be bouncing and form a final low on Bitcoin before we get another move to the upside. If you are bullish on Bitcoin long term, if not, then you could potentially see this breaking down in theory, and there'll be more spots along the way for bulls to try to hold the line. But that's the outlook on Bitcoin. Looks like we're probably going to break down to 83,000 or so. We'll see if we can get a bounce there, but more likely we're going to fall to 74k and perhaps even lower over the next few months. What about Ethereum? Well, it's a somewhat similar story. Ethereum is also in this sort of bear flag parallel channel going on here. We can draw that quite nicely. And you can see here again, price struggling to make it back into the parallel channel or break out in a bullish way. Instead, we're sort of breaking down and the bear flag seems to be playing out. So that's not really a good look for cryptocurrencies in general. We would expect to be certainly coming down here at some point. There's a lot of support in this area around the $2,150 mark. So that's sort of the first target for the bulls. If you're wanting to enter long on Ethereum, I'd say probably try to wait until around, this sort of level. Failing that level, it's possible we could drop a bit lower. I'm looking at this trend line here for the equivalent to the Bitcoin longer term trend line at 60,000 or what have you. Here it's looking like probably around $1,600 on ETH, maybe a little bit higher depending on at what point we reach that level. Could be as high as, maybe even 1,800 if that's happening a bit later on. It probably won't be as late as 2027, so you'd imagine, something around 1,600 to 1,700 would be the target for Ethereum. Could be a very good level there, and I'm sure we will bounce. It's been, a trend line that is very much respected, and quite often the third hit of that sort of a trend line is pretty reliable in terms of being good for a bounce. So I would say crypto has a bit more ways to fall in the coming months, most likely, but there are some very nice targets that we can look to. 2,150 on Ethereum, 1,600 for the sort of lowest target, and we can hopefully get a big move from those levels once we hit there. We can take a quick look at Solana as well, why not? Solana's holding up okay, but again, if you're breaking down past these levels that we're at right now, there's going to be quite a way to fall on Solana, similar to Ethereum and Bitcoin. So obviously this trend line is looking like the next one that the bulls are going to want to support, which is coming in right now around $110 for Solana. So you can imagine we may get there. Price is probably going to break down, further if Bitcoin and Ethereum experience something similar. And beyond that point, the low for Solana is actually going to be quite low. Like there's not a lot of support between here and the lower trend line here, which would take you to around $60. Might seem hard to believe, but you can definitely have some nasty price action on the altcoins, even a big one like Solana, if you have bad price action on Bitcoin and Ethereum, then Solana is probably going to make it to these levels. If you notice, there's also a parallel channel, funnily enough, so gives me more confidence that we will at some point enter this channel and sort of bounce between these levels, perhaps before, something like this. You're going to probably come up here, bounce around this sort of level, and then eventually go back up. So that's the outlook for Solana there, and the other major cryptocurrencies. Hope that is helpful for you guys. Just be careful if you're buying cryptos at this point. They are not looking super great on the charts. Of course, never impossible that they could break back up and get some bullish momentum going, particularly if the markets in general are doing very, very well, and you're getting breakout on the S&P and things like this. But just be careful out there, and I'm definitely looking to enter at some of these levels potentially in the near future. That being said, thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe for more charts and videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.